Oh, there's sorry, business. And everyone. Welcome to this afternoon's public forum. It's the 15th of May 2023. I remind all people attending this meeting that it is being webcast on YouTube with audio and vision. A recording of the meeting is available on the internet and is required to be available for 12 months. Private recordings, including taking photographs by members of the public gallery, are not allowed. This ruling is to maintain the integrity of the meeting's proceedings. Please ensure all devices, like mobile phones, are on silent mode. On behalf of Council, I welcome all people in the public gallery and observing live on the internet to this public forum. I acknowledge that this meeting is on Dunghutti land. We pay respects to elders past and present. We also welcome any other Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people with us. I now call on councillors to declare any conflict of interest, if you have any, for the public forum or for tomorrow's council meeting.
Yeah.
May lights on? Oh, sorry, couldn't see you. Councillor Wyatt, please.
Non-pecuniary interest in, I didn't grab the item, the grants. I didn't grab the item, I'm sorry. It's the community grants.
10.3, yeah.
Yeah.
The reason?
I know people that are a member of, my husband is a member of one of those committees, one of those groups. Or my partner. Yeah.
Are there any further declarations? Right, moving on. Attending the public forum are Councillors Dean Saul, Councillor Kerry Riddington, Councillor Kenny Ring, Councillor Scott Butterfield, Councillor Alexandra Wyatt, Councillor Anthony Patterson and Deputy Mayor, Councillor Arthur Bain, who's on streaming, and Councillor Simon Ferguson. Council staff in attendance are Mr Craig Milburn, General Manager, Mr Michael Jackson, Director of Operations and Planning, and he's on the stream, Mr Steve Mitchell, Director Corporate and Commercial, Mr Daniel Thorogood, Manager Governance and Information Services. I would now ask the General Manager, Mr Craig Milburn, to outline the guidelines for this public forum, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll read from Council's adopted code of meeting practice in relation to public speakers at the public forum. Each speaker will be allowed 5 minutes to address Council. This time is to be strictly enforced by the chairperson. Speakers at public forums must not digress from the item on the agenda of the Council meeting they have applied to address the Council on. If a speaker digresses to irrelevant matters, the chairperson is to direct the speaker not to do so. If a speaker fails to observe a direction from the chairperson, the speaker will not be further heard. A councillor may, through the chairperson, ask questions of a speaker following an address at a public forum. Questions put to a speaker must be direct, succinct and without argument. Speakers are under no obligation to answer a question put to them in this way. However, answers by the speaker to each question is limited to 1 minute. Speakers at the public forum cannot ask questions of council, councillors or council staff. The General Manager or the nominee may, with the concurrence of the chairperson, address the council for up to 5 minutes in response to an address to the council at the public forum after the address and any subsequent questions and answers have been finalised. When addressing the council, speakers at public forums must comply with this code and other relevant council codes, policies and procedures. Speakers must refrain from engaging in disorderly conduct, publicly alleging breaches of the council code of conduct or making other potentially defamatory statements. If the chairperson considers that a speaker at a public forum has engaged in conduct of this type, the chairperson may request the person to refrain from the inappropriate behaviour and to withdraw and unreservedly apologise for any inappropriate comments. Where the speaker fails to comply with the chairperson's request, the chairperson may immediately require the person to stop speaking. Where a speaker engages in the conduct of that type of misconduct, The General Manager or the delegate may refuse further applications from the person to speak at public forums for such a period as the General Manager or the delegate considers appropriate.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Manager. We have one speaker today. I remind the speaker, you are presenting information which may benefit councillors in becoming better informed on particular decisions they have to make at the council meeting tomorrow. Our speaker today is Mr. Andrew McGlynn, and he's speaking for item on the agenda 10.1, Toos Road Update. Welcome, Mr. McGlynn, and your 5 minutes starts now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today, and I'll just bring up on the screen, I've got a PowerPoint presentation. Can everyone see that?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. There's a picture of the landslip at Burriga cutting, which I took last year when I inspected the site with Dylan Reeves. Just a background on me, I put my full name there because my middle name's Toos. It's my grandfather, Stanley Toos, that organised the funds to build Toos Road from Bellbrook out to Tower Creek. My background is I'm a civil engineer with 40 years hands-on experience in mainly roads, bridges and tunnels. In terms of the community view, after 14 months, no work has been done on the landslip. So today's interaction is meant to be a collaborative one where we can work together to get a beneficial outcome for all parties. The effect of the landslip is actually quite catastrophic on the community. We've had loss of jobs. We can't get supplies in. For 2022, there's no cattle truck access, therefore no cattle to market, no income. But we've still got, we've asked for rates relief, and I don't think that went through. The community comment, and this isn't just for me, this is talking to the community as well. The landslip's not the problem, it's council's refusal to either repair the landslip or allow the landholders to repair the landslip. There's a picture of Fyfes Creek. We acknowledge there's some great effort from Dylan Reeves and the council crew to construct that work in very difficult terrain. You can see at the top left the type of terrain there. But we view that, and as a civil engineer, I view that's actually quite a risky operation. That's a lot riskier in our view than actually repairing the slip. In terms of the current access, the Toos Road residents we've got 3 areas of access, which you can see on your screen there. And when it's wet, the only option is actually to walk across the landslip. This is the photo that really gets me. It's there's Newman Hollis with 3 kids, and for the last 14 months they've had to walk across the landslip. And our offer is to go in and at least improve the safety of that, which is essentially 2 or 3 days with a dozer. Council stated that they can't permit any work on site that, given the geotechnical reports that they got. Look, I just can't agree with that, and I'll outline why. So in the GHD report, there's a statement there saying the current landslide area is unstable, and there's a risk to the construction workers. So no one's actually suggesting using this method, so why write it's actually bad practice to actually state an activity that is actually unsafe. The second GHD method talks about top-down works, if it could be done safely. Well, 7 contractors have said it can be. So overall, we just don't have a lot of faith in that GHD report. To council's credit, there was a good meeting with myself and council staff last December, which resulted in council engaging ARIP, and they've actually provided a solution to council. I'll skip over this because I've only got 5 minutes. There's an original landholder motion that I put via Simon Ferguson last month's meeting, so thank you for that. But the motion actually got watered down and delayed another month, and I noticed for the meeting tomorrow, it's disappeared altogether. In the progress report for tomorrow, there's identified risks, but we're saying as a community that it's actually a lot riskier to actually construct Fifes Creek. Our offer is to council is to allow us to go in as the first stage, improve the safety for the school kids, and then for council to follow up with to use. I'll go. I'm running out of time, so I'll go straight to the summary. We think we know that council have a repair solution via Arup. You've got principal contractors and local contractors that can do the work. Can you please actually act together and consider that seriously and get some work done? I guess finally, I mean, I'm coming back to this photo, and that says it all for me. I think there's enough evidence here, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. McGlynn.
We have to improve that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your address. Now I'm going to be asking councillors, Mr. McGlynn, if they'd like to ask you a question, and you'll have 1 minute if they do. Councillor White.
My question's probably to either General Manager or you, Mr. Mayor. Can we have a copy of that presentation? Because
at the moment,
I would like to read it before I digest. I mean, I would like to read it.
Yeah, so at the moment, we've got to have questions only to Mr. McGlynn.
That's my question.
White.
Can we have a copy?
Yes.
Any other questions? Councillor Patterson, please.
G'day there. I just asking a question.
Sorry, interrupt you, Councillor Patterson. It's Councillor Anthony Patterson. Mr. McGlynn, you probably can't see him. He's the Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. McGlynn, do you think it's council is being negligible in this aspect because their number one concern is the safety of the users, of all the users of Toos Road?
Or do I think the council is negligent, or is that the question?
Do you think council's being negligible? Because I've noticed you stated a number of times there, time has passed 14 months now without anything being done. I can assure, well, do you think nothing's being done? I would question that.
No, I think there's certainly council looking at. We acknowledge the hard work that council put into Fifes Creek to give emergency access, but the issue there is that it only works in the dry. When you have wet conditions, you can't use it. If there's wet conditions, we can't cross the Macleay River. My point is there's been nothing done on the landslip physically in 14 months. I recognise you got the GHD report. I thank council for engaging Arup. But 14 months has passed, and you can see my list of catastrophic effects on the community. And when you go through bushfires, floods, droughts, we've never lost jobs. We've never not got cattle to market. But we're going through a lot of pain. And all those effects is because nothing's been done on the landslip. And when I look at those school children crossing every school day, there and back, I think it's a reflection on all of us.
Thank you. That's a question from Councillor Patterson. Thank you for answering it. I'll come back to you, Councillor Patterson. First of all, I'll ask Councillor Arthur Bain to ask his question, and then I'll come back to Councillor Anthony Patterson. So, Councillor Bain, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I've got a few questions. Firstly, how many community members are impacted by this? How many of them are cut off and have to use these access routes?
Old question. If something happened to those kids that
Arthur, there's about 6 properties affected. On some of them, there are several residents on each property. I guess maybe 20 people.
Thank you. And could you give me an
Councillor Bain?
Sorry. Okay, I'll wait and come back.
Yeah. Councillor Patterson has the next question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGinn. Another question. Are you aware that very vast sections of the whole Macleay get flooded, restricting access to parts of the community to operate their normal business. And are you aware that council, or that's the question, are you aware that council can't do everything about everyone's issue for access to where they choose to live? Are you aware of that, Mr. McGinn?
Yes, certainly. Look, although I reside in Sydney, I've been a frequent visitor to the Half Moon property, but I've also been involved in a lot of flood studies in Macleay in my work as a civil engineer. So yes, certainly very aware. Our issue is that we've offered to help and go and fix it. We'd like to work in a collaborative manner, but that's been refused, and it's causing a lot of angst.
So, Mr. McGuinn,
thank you. Let's keep moving around. I'll come back to you. Thank you. Councillor Bain, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could you, Mr. McGlynn, could you outline the history of work on the road? My understanding is that often in the past, landowners have done work on that road. People like Dick Fisher and so on.
Yes, that's certainly true. Often when people see a landslip, whoever's first there, they might go with a tractor and blade or their dozer to go and fix it. I myself have done that on the second cutting. But this landslip is, it's a little bit more involved. But for us, if we were to do that, it would be 2 or 3 days' work. We're happy to do it. We're happy to do it safely. But I recognise that council have got their process that they've got to go through and engage engineers. It's just that the engineering report that's come through, we just can't agree with. And I accept the other councillors' comment about other people getting cut off. And normally residents just go and fix it themselves or with the help of council. But we've been knocked back, and that's our biggest issue.
Thank you, Mr. McGlynn. Councillor Wyatt and then back to Councillor Patterson. Thank you. So, Councillor Alexander Wyatt, the next question, Mr. McGlynn.
Yeah, good afternoon, and thank you for putting that presentation together. And I really want to read it in detail because I find this issue very complicated and confusing. I've a Part A and a Part B question is: so you're proposing to do the dozer work. The community up there is proposing to do the dozer work to fix the landslide so that it can get across. And then the second part of that question is: should you do that, and council has 2 reports to say that it is unsafe and that there's some risk management involved, what are your thoughts around the liability? I mean, if we as councillors make a decision to say, yeah, you can go ahead and do it, what are your thoughts around the liability of us?
Look, I think that's a good question because certainly I discussed it with Craig Milburn in a presentation I gave last December. I think Michael Jackson raised that. So we offered to sign a liability waiver if we went in. So that was one offer. The other one could be if council gave the road back to the landholder, which is Dick and Coralie Fisher. We've got their permission to go in. So if you handed it back, that may resolve it. The other one is we're actually not sure whether Toos Road is a public or private road. So Dick Fisher seems to believe that there's no road easement. I find that hard to believe, but he's in contact with his solicitors now to find out if that's the case. So that could be, I agree with you, Councillor, that the liability is an important issue. We believe we can do the work safely.
Thank you, Mr. McGlynn. Councillor Patterson, please.
Thank you. Mr. McGlynn, I'm just going to ask a question of our general manager in relation to. Oh no, okay. So I would say to you, Mr. McGlynn, that us as a council, there's definitely some restrictions that are put into place under management of public roads, maintenance done, building of roads, etc., that need to be done by certified contractors, licensed contractors. I would say to you, do you think that that would waiver the liability of council if we chose to, if we said, okay, you guys get in there with your dozers and the road's okay until, like you said, it starts raining again, because the reports that we've seen on this particular landslip go way up the hill there. So I just find it difficult to believe that. Back to the question, that you would think that liability of letting people go through there would be attainable, letting people work there and utilise it.
Well, I've got several suggestions. The first one is I'm a civil engineer myself. Although retired, I'd be happy to go back and get the insurances. I've worked as a principal contractor on major highway work. If I was to go in, I could get the insurance. I'd be happy to be a principal contractor under the Occupational Health and Safety Act. I would either supervise the work myself, or in my presentation, I've actually offered an alternative motion to council. You've got some very competent engineers in council there, and Dylan Reeves and David Fowler. I've met them both. I think they could supervise the work, engage a principal contractor, and get suitable local earth moving contractors to do the work. And I think that would satisfy all your liability processes within council. And I've got that in the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. McGlynn. Councillor Bain. Councillor Arthur Bain, you have another question?
Yeah, thank you. There's great concern about the potential for litigation, and that would be not only in the work that's done on the road, but also the safety of the road moving forward. The presentations that we've had show, significant ancient landslide there, and GHD have put in a report that's clearly considering it unsafe. But what evidence do you, or how do you base your objection to you've said you disagree with GHD? What do you base that on? What do you base that disagreement on? If you could explain that a bit more for me, because I'm not really clear on it.
Look, it's a good question. GHD in their report have two methods. So the first method is, if you can imagine that you're at the toe of an avalanche, and their suggestion is if you were to work from that, it would be a catastrophic event for people working on it. And I agree, but why write it? It's actually bad practice to actually state something that's unsafe. Out of all the contractors, and I've spoken to 7 of them in the local area, they would either come in from the side or from the top down, and that would be a safe work method. The second part on GHD is they said if the work could be done from the top down safely, well, that's the first question. They're a design consultant. So the next step would be to go to a contractor or several contractors and say, can you do that work safely? And the answer is yes. Another big failing of and I think it could be within their brief, because a normal brief for a complex.
Thank you, Mr. Glenn.
Okay.
That's your minute, and that's how we're working the system. Thank you. Do I have any further questions? Councillor Simon Ferguson has a question for you, Mr. McGlynn.
Okay.
Yes, thanks, Andrew. Just following on from your points you made then, one of your original landholder fixes was a couple of days' work with a dozer. That wouldn't be a top-down solution. That would be a straight at the face, wouldn't it?
It would be straight at the face, but from where Toos Road is at the moment, we would certainly gain 40 metres up. There's one large boulder there that we're all concerned about. We'd certainly drag that down and deposit it in a safe location. We would move a lot of the loose material, would cut and shape the face back in, cut it back in, a new road in. We still think that would only take 2 or 3 days with a dozer, and we believe we can do that safely.
Another question? Well, I'll ask a quick question if you can, and then I'll come back to you, Councillor Ferguson. From that answer you just gave us, Mr. McGlynn, the seismic survey of the slip shows that there's loose soil and rock going down between 30 and 17 metres from the surface. If you were going to do a 2 or 3 day cut-in on that sort of material, wouldn't that be a danger in itself, coming across such a deep part of unstable material?
Well, that could be true. Certainly, if we went in and cut it and found the material was still soft and wet, then the 2 to 3 days may not actually work. But the history is over the last 70 years, what we've found is that when the material does get wet, as long as you take away the material and you reshape the face so that you allow drainage, proper drainage, then that usually fixes the problem. I mean, we're actually familiar with this type of terrain and the material, and that's what we've been doing for 70 years.
Thank you, Mr. McGlynn. Another question from Councillor Ferguson, please.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. You mentioned there take away the material. Most of the loose material on site is down a very steep sort of slope heading towards the river. How would you propose to remove the material with the dozer?
We would propose to go in from the western side of the landslip. We'd start removing, we'd cut in a track, provide a safe work platform. We'd start pushing the material down to the western side of the landslip, and there's an area just on the downhill side where we would push the material into. So it'd just be dozer work. It's just pushing earthworks around. And we believe that we can do that with relative safely.
Thank you.
Councillor Wyatt, please.
Thank you. Just back on the dozer work again. So when that work was, will that trail be a 4-wheel drive access after it's constructed? If you and your team were to do it, would that be 4-wheel drive access?
No, not at all. It would be just normal 2-wheel drive access. So the Toos Road across the bluff is approximately 8 degrees, whereas the steep sections of Fifes Creek is 20 degrees. So it's quite a substantial difference.
Can I have a follow-up? I just wanted to ask,
last question.
Mate,
Thank you,
sorry,
Councillor.
I just wanted to confirm to this is what I need some confirmation on this as well, is that we've heard that there may be 7 people, there's only 7 people that actually live up there full time, which is a family with the children, plus another 2. Are you able to confirm that? How many people actually live up there full time and that their access is affected every day?
The full-time ones, there's certainly the Rose and Newman, their children. There's 3 there full-time. Sorry, 5 of them are there full-time, others part-time. There's 3 people living on Stockyard Creek. There's 3 at Half Moon, the property I belong to. On Neville Davis, I don't know, but maybe a dozen, 15.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Thank you, councillors. Any further questions for Mr. McGlynn? If not, I thank you sincerely, Mr. McGlynn, for your presentation today and answering our questions. And I'm sure we'll give it due consideration in the meeting tomorrow. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to present to the councillors and council staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And that's the end of the public forum. Thank you, everyone.